This is the 40 Days for Life podcast with your host, Sean Carney.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today on the 40 Days for Life podcast. I'm Sean Carney, the president of 40 Days for Life, and your host for this podcast, which is dedicated to helping you end abortion where you live. Happy New Year, as this podcast comes out on January the 6th, which is a day that we recognize the Epiphany of our Lord and the day that we raid the Capitol. And so somebody who definitely was there on January 6th raiding the Capitol and somehow got away with it is my co-host, Mr. Steve Carlin.
I definitely want to go on record as stating that is fake news.
Fake news.
That is fake news.
I have an alibi.
Heather is also here, and she actually probably was there.
No,
but
negative.
Is the besides?
I don't know anybody who was there. I've never heard of anybody who was there. I'm vaguely aware there was an incident that day, but I had no involvement.
Is anybody tired?
I was honoring the Epiphany, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I think January 6th has overcome the Epiphany, actually, as a reference.
Oh, yeah.
Not for a positive reason. Aside from Fauci, or do you get vaxxed, do you not get vaxxed, has anything gotten older or more worn out than January 6th? Just in the last 10 years, like if somebody brings something up, let's say you're at a happy context, your kid's playoff soccer game or, a New Year's Eve party, what would you rather have brought up? Fauci and how we need to get vaccinated, or January 6th?
I don't know. Because I like talking about January 6th because the word insurrection, I think, is so outrageous that it's just fun to talk about. We had, a few years ago at our church, there was the Advent lessons and carols was postponed because people were sick or something like that. And so we just did it on Epiphany. And I approached our priest afterwards. I said, "Father, do you think it's appropriate for us to be doing this on the anniversy of the insurrection?" And so I
you like saying insurrection.
Yeah, it's a fun word.
It is.
Four syllables.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I don't know what to say when January 6th comes up. I wouldn't have raided the Capitol. I wasn't there. I wouldn't have jumped on the thing. I don't understand. And then I certainly don't understand the reaction to it, and that these people are actually trying to take over the world. And now we know all the FBI agents that were in the crowd. All that stuff, I'm like, I don't want to think about all that. Like, I view it like, yes, I could get pancreatic cancer next week and be dead before St. Patrick's Day, but like if that happens, it happens. That's where I am with January 6th. Like, some people did that. They shouldn't have done it. I don't think Trump incited it. And all the people that get on the internet for hours and hours on January 6th, I'm like, this is just way overblown.
To me, it shows that everything is fake. Like, remember when Elon waved to people and it was a Hitler salute?
Yeah.
Whatever happens, it's going to be played into some sort of fascism.
Yeah, it was really, really kind of crazy. So, but it is the Epiphany, January 6th. And as we get into, Planned Parenthood was defunded. So the topic of this podcast is other ways that we fund Planned Parenthood. So we are going to get a little bit into corporate America. We're going to give you some advice on how, we're not calling for any boycotts, but we are going to highlight the question that we always get in our lives, which is, how do we support companies we don't want to support, or not support companies we don't want to support? So we will get into all that. A very interesting and controversial podcast. But first, we have listener feedback.
Yeah, we got a few.
How's the New Year's resolutions going, by the way?
Never been better. I haven't been to the Capitol once this year.
Didn't I see you eating a cookie cake in the break room? What was that? You're 6 days in.
That was vegan or something.
That was celery.
Yeah. So a couple months ago, we did the podcast about my grandfather going to Normandy. And we got probably more feedback on this episode than any we've ever gotten. So just in Thanksgiving for the listeners, many of which who shared their own stories of loved ones.
It was awesome. And Thanksgiving for your grandfather.
Yeah. We got one from Cade who says, "Oh my goodness, this was an amazing story. I'm so thankful Steve's grandfather's life was saved. God bless him and also Steve for looking his sister up. So pro-life Every life matters and has meaning. Thank you for sharing and airing. My father was on a ship during World War II. Didn't talk about it very much until the honor flight interview, which he also participated in.
Wow.
The radar was jammed with enemy subs out and about. My dad, Richard, fixed it in that crisis so that they gave him the opportunity to dine with FDR, who came aboard.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's very cool.
That's very cool.
He was a very pro-life dad of 10 children who passed on Veterans Day, which was also his mother's birthday at the age of 98 a few years ago. Would have turned 100 this past August. Thanks so much to all our veterans for fighting for freedom in the world.
Awesome.
Amen.
Awesome.
Yeah. We've got another note here from Susan.
And we have the show. We'll put it on the web page.
Yeah.
If somebody missed the Veterans podcast about Steve's grandfather, we'll put it on this. We'll put it on the page. You got to listen to it. It's great.
Susan says, just watch Saving Private Carlin. Wow, so powerful. I wept through it. My father served in World War II, but never left the continental U.S. He was stationed in Boca Raton in Florida. Got orders for Japan just before I was born, but then the U.S. dropped the 2 atomic bombs on Japan in August. Japan surrendered, so thankfully he never had to go to Japan. This is interesting, right?
That's a little pro nuke. I don't know, that's a different podcast.
Someone who actually has a stake in the matter. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
We've got one from Alana who said, Dear Mr. Carney, I finished watching your Saving Private Carlin podcast less than a minute ago. It was phenomenal. I cried through a lot of it. I grew up in Jackson County, Michigan, where Lee Storm was from, and where his sister now lives. I live less than 2 miles from the county line. I will never forget Steve Carlin's story, and I will never forget Lee Storm. May he and all of his brothers who fell in World War II rest in peace. In my family, there were several who fought in the war. My grandparents did not serve, but I had great uncles. And gets into family history back to World War I.
Beautiful. I was wondering when we did the podcast, because we talk about Jackson County a lot, if somebody was going to write in. That's great. Thank you for writing in.
We also have some in the YouTube comments. User at DJBSPJCBCE. Steve is the coolest and one of the most holy men on this earth.
Now, the number one, that's an alias, so that could be you posting that. But the ASBS, whatever, that's a long, nobody's really claiming that, but we'll give you the compliment.
I
Is
think
that your cousin?
It's whoever it is.
They're a genius.
Sage. Bill says, very good podcast. Notice how Steve finished up pointing how the sacrifice of the vets allowed us the freedom to do what we do at 40 Days for Life. I also tracked where my uncle was buried in a cemetery in Germany after being killed as the war was ending, and then visited the cemetery where he was reburied in France. That's the one that I went to. Those overseas cemeteries are maintained even better and with great pride by the local caretakers. So that's pretty cool. And then we have one more, and I'm not sure the name on this, at Turber Sugar 6023. Excellent show in honor of Veterans Day. As a veteran, I agree about Saving Private Ryan. It was a well-done movie, although I always believed the storyline was far-fetched. Your grandpa's opinion, spot on.
That's great. That's great. And for those of you who have not listened to that podcast, Steve's grandfather, who was at Normandy and has a Purple Heart and just very decorated. His life was saved, and Steve tracks him down. You got to listen to the podcast, but we learn in the podcast that Steve's grandfather did not like Saving Private Ryan and thought it was the dumbest movie ever made because nobody would go rescue that one little kid. Although it's a great movie.
No doubt.
I recognize that. Matt Damon's kind of a punk when they meet him. But anyways, thank you for that feedback.
I have one more.
Oh,
I have one
go
more.
ahead.
I don't know if you read this one, Steve, but I thought this was pretty cool too. So this is from one of our very avid listeners, Jen, and she says, Steve's Normandy story, which was beyond amazing, prompted my husband to do a ton of research about his own grandfather who briefly served in World War II. He is learning so much, and he and his mom are thoroughly enjoying uncovering more details about that period of his life.
That's cool.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I bet she also thinks that I'm one of the coolest and holiest people on
One of
earth.
the coolest.
No doubt.
And I'm wondering if we had that in the store, the T-shirt. Steve is one of the coolest and holiest with the 40 Days logo. So that would be really good.
I feel like the fact that I read that willingly on air here probably disqualifies me from that.
No, I don't think it does. It was nice how you slid it in. Okay, so let's talk about funding Planned Parenthood. And one of the first things is obviously they're defunded. One of the goals, you need to join our upcoming webcast, by the way, on 2026. But one of the goals in 2026 is to keep them defunded. Every year, every week that they are defunded is huge. But we're going to look at some of the other ways that they get funding and see if any impact we can have on that. One of the things you highlight is taking away the sort of non-related funds to the abortion industry. This is interesting.
Yes. So, by the way, thanks to Leonore for the suggestion of this topic. She found in California that in 2016, Prop 56 was passed to support, quote, access to health care for low-income Californians, unquote, covered by the Medi-Cal program, raising taxes on tobacco products in order to reallocate funds to Planned Parenthood. So, yay.
Don't poison yourself, poison your babies.
I don't endorse smoking cigarettes. I've never had a cigarette. Of course, I am a fan of cigars.
Yes.
Because those are natural and hand-rolled and directly from God. But Matt has a good phrase. Of course, cigar smokers love that. We demonize the wrong things. So the worst thing you can ever do in your entire life is have a cigarette, right? In 2026, this is the worst thing. Nobody on New Year's Eve was like, New Year's resolution, start smoking.
Start smoking.
It would be it probably sounds like a Norm Macdonald skit, where he's going around the party and be like, one thing I'm going to do this year is start smoking. That would be a funny skit. But nobody does that.
A lot of other types of smoking people are vowing to start. I would argue that.
But it is, yeah. Well, that's all the drug addicts. But we're going to tax the tobacco company to pay for the abortions. Mm-hmm. And yet the warning on the tobacco label is you shouldn't smoke
while
if you're pregnant.
Yes. What a great irony to point out.
This is very California of them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, very much. And to continue with California, more recently in 2024, the state budget included $20 million in, quote, reproductive justice grants for abortion access, which involves shifting funds from prior allocations intended for mental health services and substance abuse treatment as part of a mid-year budget adjustment.
That's interesting because when we talk about defunding Planned Parenthood, it's like, oh, where are women going to go for health care? It's not that they're cutting funding for women's health care. They're simply directing it away from Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Here, you've got a mental health program, and everybody in America right now agrees that there's a mental health crisis.
Yes.
They actually are, they're defunding mental health services and substance abuse treatment to give money to the abortion industry.
Although it does use my favorite phrase, which is reproductive justice.
Yeah.
Because I thought reproductive justice was you get married, you pray for a baby, the baby comes, the baby's born, reproductive justice has been served. But that's not what they mean by it.
No.
Just like Steve likes saying insurrection, I like saying reproductive justice.
On a previous episode, we discussed Doritos justice, which I think just meant that when I want Doritos, somebody has to give it to me. Otherwise, it's an injustice.
Yeah.
And I support that, and I think the government should mandate it. In 2022, Baltimore, Maryland, or as the Irish say, Baltimore, Maryland redirected $1 million from its general operating budget to support local abortion facilities via the Abortion Access Fund. I at least appreciate this because they're naming it. It's not the Human Fund from George Costanza. It's the Abortion Access Fund. In Maryland, they probably got tons of support for that. But it's $1 million. This is 2022 after the fall of Roe. So they got a little bit of a sympathy bump from some of these state governments, like, oh my gosh, the horrible Supreme Court and Kavanaugh, and they're terrible. We'll give you some tax funding.
I'm curious. I don't know the answer to this question, and I've thought about it. Is there any, we know that the government funds all sorts of different programs, but is there another business in America that is directly tied to federal funding? Usually it's we're funding addiction, we're funding mental health, we're funding transportation. I can't think of a business that is so reliant on federal tax dollars as Planned Parenthood.
I don't know of one, but I've also wondered that too, because you don't, and maybe it's just because we're in our own world, and so I don't hear about it, but that doesn't mean doesn't exist.
The only thing I would think of, well, there's a controversial one, which is the USCCB and the immigration. Okay, we want to get into that. That's another episode. But a total scam. But the other thing is, I don't know about private universities.
Good one.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
I mean, I would assume at some point Notre Dame has a research program, or Harvard's private, right?
But every university
is getting something
because they're part of the student loan program.
And we don't even bat an eye at that. We're
that's
of course we need it. Now you can dig down deep and look at how the sea turtle's toenail, if they have toenails, are causing cancer in some algae in the Atlantic. They have all that dumb stuff. But in the end, there's also a lot of great research that universities do. And I'm not anti-academia at all. Or I shouldn't say at all, but I don't think that we should just be like, nobody go to college. It's all going to work out.
Right.
But so that would be my guess.
I guess public broadcasting would be in that category too. Another recently defunded program, PBS.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, it's just, I think the problem is we don't really know the answer to this because there's so much money going in and out of the federal government.
Yeah.
And without the pro-life movement, no one would know that Planned Parenthood
has been funded as much as it has over the years.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is actually one of the big successes of the pro-life movement for everybody. The March for Life, Susan B. Anthony, of just for years. I remember when I first started going to the March for Life, defunding Planned Parenthood signs were everywhere. That's just always been one of those things. And of course, you're like,
when was this?
Oh, not my first trip, but I know in 08, 09, 2010.
Because I don't recall prior to about that time, because Obama was elected in 08, and then he rammed through the healthcare legislation, and then there was a big Republican wave in 2010. And until about that point, I don't think 20 years ago anybody was really talking about it. This seems like it's a relatively recent development in pro-life strategy. Even during Reagan, I don't think anybody was discussing defunding Planned Parenthood.
No, but I would say in the mid to late 2000s, 2010s, I don't know what we call those, it was starting to make headway, and I want to say like 12 or 13, I think there was a year where the front banner of the March for Life was defund Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big part of the Tea Party. It's kind of coexisted with the Tea Party movement.
Obama gave Planned Parenthood more money, and Obama raised attention to the fact that Planned Parenthood was getting more money. Yeah. So it was kind of a double-edged sword. Which is great. Okay.
We don't want to skip another local one, though. Austin City Council, where I live, in 2020 defunded the police and redirected $150 million to social programs. When you break down those numbers, 100,000 of that was redirected to expand the city's, quote, abortion access support program, which is travel, lodging, and child care. Now, this is against state law now, and this increased its total funding, this abortion access program, from $150,000 to $250,000 for the 2021 fiscal year.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and I easily could be, but I had heard that the majority of the defunding the police in Austin just went to the sheriff's department, and it was all a PR thing.
Not according to when you look at a lot of the other numbers, because there was all kinds of stuff that the funds were reallocated to, and
Austin got very dangerous very quickly.
Yeah. Oh, unrelated note, actually, the murder rate in Austin increased by 33%.
There's no correlation there.
No correlation. In fact, they're literally claiming, all of these very CNN or these types of high-level news outlets, all claiming there's no relation to that. No relation to the murder rate increasing. Now, I have friends in the police department, so I, of course, asked them, how is this affecting you? But this was not secret information. This is publicized information where it was listed out. This is what this defunding means for our department. They were not able to have 3 cadet classes that year, which is huge. That's huge for it, because then they went back to 2015 numbers for cadets when Austin has been growing at such a huge rate over the last, 20 years, 15 years. So they didn't have 3 cadet classes. They had less response to calls. In fact, 911 calls, I remember at the time, and I had to call 911 during this time for something. I remember at the time the response time was either 25 minutes for an actual emergency. If you had a fender bender or some sort of accident, they did not respond to that. They no longer were responding to vehicle incidents, anything like that. They were only responding to life and death situations for a while because they were so short on patrol officers. They removed mounted horse cops, which then crime on 6th Street went up because of that. All unrelated, though. But no, there's definitely a breakdown online. We can post the source
This is
citations.
when Heather got her bumper sticker that says, "Keep honking, I'm reloading." Around that time. That's right. We don't call 911. Picture of a gun.
I love when experts come in and say that what you can see plainly with your own eyes is not true. Like the people who are, there's no evidence that steroids increase home runs in baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, weren't they hitting 70 or 80 a year?
And we wanted them to. As I pointed out to you many times, you care about Jose Canseco's bicep when he's 82 years old and his body falling apart. You don't care about that. You want to see the guy hit 60 home runs.
This reminds me, though. I had gone to, right after this defunding happened, and we were seeing the results of all this. I had gone to it was the heartbeat law. So the heartbeat law had been passed in Texas in 2021, and there was this huge pro-abortion protest at the Capitol. So a bunch of pro-lifers went. We were majorly outnumbered. I believe this is where I saw one of my favorite signs of all, which said, "Sex is beautiful, pregnancy is optional." One of my favorites. And I mean, it was like, 50 or 60 of us, and there's like 5,000 pro-abortion people. So we're kind of surrounded, and I'm going back to my car, and I'm walking by myself because, I don't know, nobody else was parked near me or something like that. There were these pro-abortion girls behind me. They probably were college age. And I heard one of them talking about how they called 911. And, like, the operator got online and said they're just, like, not coming. And I'm like, how does that happen? They just don't come. And I was just like, I wanted to turn around so badly and say, that's what happens. Yeah. Like, what do you think is going to I don't know if they had any clue about the defunding of the police, but I was like, oh, man.
Yeah, 911, please hold.
Yeah.
The last point on this, because we'll move on from the defunding, but I had a expert in law enforcement, career law enforcement person say, yeah, the defunding of the police is really bad because it's so racist. And I'm like, all right, I'll listen to that. I was like, how? He's like, well, there were times in America where we didn't have the police. Like, this is a relatively new invention where you just have a little township or a city and immediately you hire cops or more cops or less cops or whatever. So we didn't always fund the police. And the reason we need police is for the worst areas, and the worst areas are minority. He's like, the suburbs are just going to hire cops and have private police protection.
Well, it's the same with citizens.
Yeah,
like, we're all defunding the police, but the higher ups, the elites, have their private.
They all have their private security.
Well, if only we could all afford our own private. Security.
If we actually defunded all of the cops and they fired all of them, just these neighborhoods in the suburbs would hire cops, which is basically a constable, and for these certain regions, and it would just be privatized. But the inner cities wouldn't have that. They would just all kill each other.
Right.
Whenever I come here, I fly into Houston and then drive from Houston, which is liberal, through Montgomery County, which is
the most
not
conservative.
Liberal.
Yeah.
And they've got that billboard. I'm sure you've seen it 100 times. I'm like, this is not Houston. This is Montgomery County. We press charges. We do not defund our police.
Judge Key is a great pro-lifer, but yeah, that's where I live.
Okay.
Montgomery County. But yeah, it's that's what would happen. That's actually a good example of it, except Houston's the opposite to their credit. They hired more cops. They totally blew off the defund police. We had like a liberal mayor, and he was like, we're not doing this. We're going to actually hire more cops. And he put out ads. If you've been defunded in San Francisco or New York, move to Houston, and we'll hire you as a cop.
Nice.
It was really kind of shocking, but it was encouraging.
This is the way the police will end up refunded is they'll defund the police, it'll be replaced by private security, and then Bernie Sanders will demand private security for all, and then you'll have the police again, right?
Oh, okay.
Don't knock him, because I want to be able to go around and say oligarchs. It's one of my favorite. I think he's a nut. He wants to abort kids so we can save the environment. We've talked about him before, but I could listen to him talk all day long. He looks crazy. He is crazy Bernie. His hair is flying in the wind, and he's got strange clothes. There's like layers in his scarf, and he's like, are you wearing a suit, or is this like flannel jacket? I don't know. He's a strange guy, but crazy Bernie. But when he says oligarchs, that's just my favorite, because I think of like yachts and people with flutes of champagne having a great time, and he's just like in the back. You know, I've never been on a yacht. I would assume that it's probably an enjoyable experience, but stop the oligarchs is one of my favorite phrases.
And he and Jimmy Buffett and Larry David all look like the same guy.
Oh, yeah, I can.
And they all have yachts.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Bernie doesn't, but I don't know.
He'll settle for his 3 or 4 houses.
Yes.
Yeah. He definitely, he's Vermont, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's disturbing about Bernie, among a lot of things, is that there's a 99% chance he owns an axe. And him walking around his property in the woods with his kind of hair everywhere, and he just looks like he just like escaped the electric chair with an axe is scary to me. Like that's a horror movie. He's like this creepy old guy in Home Alone.
Oh.
Except he's real.
The South Bend Shovel Slayer.
Exactly. So we're still in the Christmas season, right? As we celebrate all the Christmas time, we can reference Home Alone. Okay. All right, on these corporations, so this changes a lot, and you hear like, can you believe whatever, Bank of America, which they're not even on the list anymore. But it changes so much of the corporations who give to Planned Parenthood. And we're going to list these off, and then we're going to do a little bit like, what do we do? Like, so we have to boycott United and American and every airline, but I wanted to go see my daughter who had a baby. So we're going to kind of take you through a practical approach to this. But some of the most recent larger corporations to donate to Planned Parenthood include PayPal, BNY Mellon. What is that?
That's a great question.
Okay.
I had never heard of it before I saw this chart.
An even greater question is what is the last one on the list, but we'll wait a moment for that.
I know that.
That's a fun one.
But
Levi Strauss, that they've always been very liberal. That's not surprising. Credo Mobile.
Yeah, ironic.
And I mean, they only gave $380,000, which is not a lot, but I've never even heard. Pfizer, that's so shocking. JP Morgan Chase, same. They're funny because I think they pulled out of some of the homosexual stuff, but they've funded Planned Parenthood. They've funded some other liberal stuff, but they've had a very pro-America CEO. They're one of those, not quite as bad as the Koch brothers, but like fiscally conservative pro-America, but culturally very liberal. Singleton Schreiber, I don't know what that is. They're at $250,000. Shell Oil, that's surprising, because we have this is kind of the naughty list. We have a good list, and ExxonMobil's on it. So Shell, American Express, and the last one. These are the top 10
in 2020 to 2023.
2020 to 2023. Sorry. Bad Robot Productions.
Is that the guy who's doing the Super Bowl halftime show?
That's Bunny, Blue Bunny.
Bad Bunny.
Bad Bunny.
Oh, I'm confusing my bad robots and my bad bunnies.
Bad Bunny.
I'm hip.
No, I don't know much about Bad Robots, but I know I see their little logo and I hear their jingle at the end of a lot of popular sitcoms and shows today.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So they give $155,000. Okay. And again, these change, so don't write in and say, they don't give anymore, or you forgot, and then list off these 20 people.
I know that we have sometimes gotten a lot of blowback for hosting our symposium in the Marriott line, and people are like, hey, it's fun, and we actually have receipts that they don't.
Yeah, no, that was a good one because, I FedExed their CEO, and he wrote me a letter saying we don't fund Planned Parenthood, and we welcome all that stuff, which is good. That's what all these Chryslers always been independent and all that. And with hotels, you can have a choice. There are some things, I laugh at the people that tell us to boycott Apple and Google. And so, which is part of it is we live in a pagan society. So if we're just boycotting everybody, let's do it. Let's go to Wyoming. Let's just dig a hole. Let's stick our head in it. Let's
Compound.
Live off the land. Let's go Amish. Harrison Ford did that in Witness, and he didn't even make it, right? But you're not going to have a smartphone. And I know you can't do your job. I can't do my job. We have to travel. So there are things that we can make efforts to do, but some things are unavoidable in the pagan society that we live in.
Yeah, and some companies, like especially over the last few years, now that abortion has been in conversation so much more, in the news a lot more, which we want it to be. We want people to be talking about it, and we want to be exposing the dark industry for what it is. And so these things come up as far as corporations that are funding the abortion industry, specifically Planned Parenthood. And a lot of people wonder, well, wait a minute, does that count? Is that just the CEO writing a check, right there directly to Planned Parenthood? Does this include matching corporate gifts, those sorts of things? And the answer to that is depending on when you break down each of these companies and each of their 990s, a lot of the times it incorporates all of that. It's matching donations and just donations that the corporation as a whole decides, whoever, the CEO, the board, whatever.
And the corporation gifts are worse because what they do, 40 Days for Life gets gifts from like AT&T or something because they'll go in and they'll say, if you have a charity you want to support, you can put it on the list, and any employee in that company, that's not what we're talking about.
Well, it can include that,
right?
But the thing is that if you are one of those pro-lifers that is adamant about boycotting everything as much as possible, or at least the top corporations, then you will count that, and you would want to. Some people would go to the corporations and say you should not even be allowing this matching fund to go to this group. And some people will argue, well, they don't have a choice; they have to, and that's not true. If you look at different kind of these measurement websites like Charity Navigator and things like that, the corporations do have a choice. They can limit their list of who they want to donate if they want to. So they can turn you down if you say, I want to donate to 40 Days for Life. The corporation can say, sorry, we're not including that in our list of charities to donate to. And some of them will be very, very strict. They'll say you can donate to one of these 5 charities, So it varies. And if you're interested in a particular company, definitely go to, those sorts of websites, or go to the 990s directly of those companies.
Go to the 990s because there's a lot of bogus pro-life lists out there. I don't mind saying that on the podcast. I've just gotten myself in trouble.
And that's good to say that because we should keep ourselves in check. Like, I don't want to have false information.
You only get the truth on the 40 Days for Life podcast. But I've been in conversations and I'm like, no, fill in the blank company that most people would be like, oh, they definitely give. And no, it's explained to me how they don't actually give, but they got put on the list because, their CEO went to a party personally that Planned Parenthood hosted or something, and some pro-lifer put the company on there.
Yeah. See, that's not accurate.
Stuff like that.
That's not accurate.
And so I'm actually looking at this because the really bad players over time, these are the top 10 corporate donors. The biggest one is 1.6 million, which, by the way, is just not a lot of money to Planned Parenthood, down to number 10, which is Bad Robot, 150K. Think about who's not on this list. Netflix, I would have put them on there, like, just out of comment. I'm thinking of the listeners. Starbucks, Bank of America. They've always been long time. Wells Fargo is not on the list.
On this current list.
On the current list.
Right.
What I'm saying is there have been some stalwart.
This particular list, sorry.
Yeah.
I can't say current because we're in 2026 now. So
Procter & Gamble.
Procter & Gamble.
Yeah.
But there are some where if you just pull your average pro-lifer or your hardcore pro-lifer off the street and be like, name like the 10 worst, zero Hollywood except Bad Robot Productions, but they don't count. You know, where's Comcast or, you know, Warner Brothers, just the
Amazon, Apple, Google.
all of that.
Disney.
I mean,
Disney.
Exactly. We haven't heard of half of these, which is pretty remarkable. So anyways, it's kind of a, by the way, Shell is the only oil company I believe that is still not based. No, it is still, it is based in Houston. Chevron is the one based in California, but they're moving to Houston.
I had a very painful experience with one of my preferred brands that was supporting Planned Parenthood. And that's when the Green Bay Packers Foundation gave a grant for targeting the Hispanic community in Wisconsin. And our 40 Days for Life leader there, Jim, really raised the banner there and led a pretty successful campaign against the Packers. And so I stepped away from football for 3 years. And after 3 years, like each organization, I believe, was able to reapply for grant funding after a 3-year absence. And so after Planned Parenthood did not get more money after those 3 years, then I jumped back into watching football. And that same year, got my season tickets. So I'm not saying there's a connection there, but it was pretty great.
God's will. I can't tell you how much Starbucks I drank from 2005 to, I forget when they went totally crazy. But Mary Lisa and I both. And we were just looking for a reason to go to Starbucks. We loved it. And then they got into the culture war, and it was just crazy. It was the gay marriage stuff, then it was the pro-abortion stuff. So we were like, okay, we're going to do it. And it was really this horrible 2-week thing, and then that's it, you know. If I'm in a Marriott and they're serving the Starbucks coffee at the conference that I'm at, I drink it. Okay, so there is like this practical...
I think I remember there being a stretch where you had been given some Starbucks gift cards and came to the conclusion that if you didn't use them, that would be...
They win.
Yeah.
I would either give them away.
That's my philosophy, because I do not choose... I choose not to go to Starbucks anymore for many reasons.
They have a lot of reasons. Actually, Planned Parenthood's not one of their big ones. The gay trans stuff is out of control. And we saw, was it 2 years ago? We're like... 400 stores were like, we're not doing gay pride.
Yeah.
We talked about it on the podcast. It was like, Starbucks is starting to turn against Pride Month. That's insane. But yeah.
Do you remember when it was revealed that Pepsi Cola was working with this company Sonomics or something like that, and they were using aborted baby tissue to test flavors? And that came out about the same time that Taco Bell, which is a Pepsi company, launched the Doritos Locos Tacos, where you could get a Dorito-flavored taco shell.
Yes, those were so good.
I was so happy when they dropped that partnership. I was at Taco Bell that day.
Absolutely, 100%. And also, it's funny because it's easy when you don't like the product.
Right. I don't like coffee.
Pepsi stinks. You don't like coffee. But there were some doable things that we've held out on the Starbucks thing, and then you just get used to it. And now, I mean, coffee you can make at your house is like awesome. And so, but in the early 2000s, I mean, if you just didn't drink Starbucks, McDonald's is good, Panera Bread, which is going under, but it was like an actual, this is small first world problems, but you're kind of avoiding that. And that's not, to me, this is all personal, of course, for people, like, do what you want, but that's not boycott American and United. You know, I mean, there were United. What did they do? And they ended up turning against it. But they had like a Planned Parenthood fundraiser or something. And I just saw all these pro-lifers on the internet. I'll never get on United ever again. And some of these people, I was like, I know you live in Chicago or Houston. I mean, you can try. It's a good effort, I suppose. But, you know, and then 3 months later, they're flying United all the time. There's just certain things that, what's the priest quote that you mentioned about you have to be able to do your best, but operate?
You have to live in a human manner of living. And that means you have to go through your life. And sometimes you can't check to see if Bisquick contracted with a company that at some point gave money to Planned Parenthood, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. No, 100%. And there's some things you can't always control. You can do your best, whether it's, you know, mutual funds or banks or whatever. But But yeah, it can be very, very difficult.
And for clarity and to not get sued, I have no idea if there's any connection between Bisquick and the abortion industry. But that's the point, is we're
We're
don't
also
know.
not
Good
calling on
caveat.
boycotts. So this is a fun kind of boycott story, even though I said we're not calling on boycotts. When Netflix did their original thing in Georgia, was it Georgia? Georgia got the heartbeat bill. So Netflix says, we'll never film another movie in Georgia, which is all BS because they like the tax credit and they actually never
Yes.
fulfilled that. So that
Right.
was all nonsense. But they were just doing a PR thing. I was on Relevant Radio doing an interview that day, and they were taking calls, which is super fun. And this guy called in, and he said, hey, I kind of have a plan. I want to run it past me and the host. And he said, I bought Netflix in 2007, and he said on air how many shares he bought at the time. So he's still going through his questions. So I whip out my iPhone, and I'm like, this guy's a multi-millionaire just off Netflix alone, much less his other
It's
investments.
between Elon and Bezos.
Yeah, no, he's as we say in the South, he's eating.
He's eating whales.
So he finishes his question, and I just go, by the way, way to go, man. And he started laughing. He's like, yep, I know I'm loaded. Yeah. But he said, as a large, sort of bottom floor investor who's made a lot of money and stuck with him, everybody's like, sell your stocks. He's like, that's what I'm hearing. He's like, I don't want to do that. He's like, I don't have a problem making, more money, but I'm going to write them, and I'm going to try to use my influence at the shareholder meeting. And if they don't, depending on that, I'm going to sell, because that's my commitment. And I thought that was such a good non-knee-jerk reaction, because with companies too, and this is impactful, and they're like, well, what do I do? But definitely saw it with Disney. If you own Disney stock and they're like, we're going to train everybody to have, trans kids, the last thing you should do is run to your computer and sell your Disney stock immediately. You first should reach out. And this happened with Starbucks.
Yes.
And the famous guy going to the shareholder meeting and saying, half the country's against gay marriage. Why are we, doing this? And the CEO cuts him off and says, some things are more important than, business.
Which,
and it's like,
correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they at that point, I don't know if it's illegal, but you have the fiduciary responsibility to look out for the interests of your shareholders, do you not?
100%. Well, the CEO of Starbucks guy said some things are more important than coffee. And as Matt Britton, our lawyer, said, and that's true, unless you're Starbucks.
Right.
That's the most important thing, is great coffee and a good environment. So, because he was a huge Starbucks fan and had to get away from it too. But I think that approach, it goes a long way. It's proven to work. And it's easy for somebody who doesn't use any of these products to say, I'll never use it again. I think with clothing, it's easier. If you want to avoid these type of jeans or whatever, that's all kind of easier. But some of this bigger stuff, the shareholders have a lot of power and a lot of influence.
We had 40 Days for Life participants who did this with CVS and Walgreens when they got into the abortion pill business.
Yes. And you look at, I'm glad we threw a fit over CVS and CVS and Walgreens with the abortion pills, because I think that helped cause Costco to come out and say, we're never doing this. And that could have been detrimental. I mean, Costco, if it's not the largest grocery store chain in America, it's got to be in the top 3. I'm sure Kroger is up there and Walmart. But, Costco saying we're not doing abortion pills at our pharmacies kind of allowed some of these other bigger companies to say, we don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And allowed me to continue getting awesome pizzas for only $10.
It's unbelievable. What do they do to that pizza? And why can you get like the foot-long hot dog
for like $1?
It's like $1.29.
$1.29.
There's inflation, Heather. The foot-long hot dog that can feed 3 kids is now $1.29.
Don't look up what they put in it.
So I think if you're
nobody knows.
Also, if you're a consumer, you have more influence.
Yes.
That doesn't mean keep buying it, but it means call, write a letter. That stuff really, send an email. That stuff really matters.
We had another 40 Days for Life participant write in and said, when the CVS Walgreens stuff was going on. I can't remember which one. It was like, I worked there. And you know what they took really seriously? The survey that nobody pays attention to. Like, and we got a survey at the end of the receipt.
Good, because I do those sometimes.
I can see
So I hope.
pounding away on the keyboard for an hour and a half on a survey. That
Sometimes
you
it's
get
motivated by, entering a chance to win $1,000 gift card or something. But
never win?
that's beside. No, I've never won.
You can win a new pair of tube socks.
I fill those out thinking to myself, this is probably all fake anyway. There's probably not a sweepstakes to enter or some sort of.
That's it.
But hopefully they hear my comments.
For the sake of this podcast, that does matter. Do the surveys. Fill out the survey. The customer feedback really matters because how many people gave customer feedback?
That's what I
to
figure.
Coca-Cola today.
That's what I figure. There's
Like
probably
what-
not very many, so maybe
Yeah.
there's a chance.
I think we think these companies are so big that it just doesn't matter.
They're so big, and also you're just going to be accused of being a Karen, or I would be because I'm a white lady. So, and I, whatever. But I'm not like,
Yeah.
But
You're a nice Karen.
I do now there have been, I should do this more often, but there have been times where I'll go to my local grocery store and customer service is a pet peeve of mine when it's so bad. I hate that. And I've gotten, you get to the point where you're so used to just not very good customer service that when you go somewhere, like for instance, I went to El Paso last spring in March. I was blown away that everywhere I went in between visiting, with the volunteers and the vigil sites and everything and the events, everywhere that I went, they were so unbelievably nice and accommodating and sincerely. And I just was surprised by that. And then I thought that's really sad because I'm not used to that. And I mean, we're in the South, and so people tend to be friendlier in the South anyway. But it's just you don't get, you're just a number, and people don't look you in the eyes anymore. And that's a whole thing with the internet and all that stuff. And people don't know how to socialize anymore anyway. But if you have sometimes a really good, sales clerk or cashier or something, and there was just something about, the way that they handled a situation, whether it was with you or somebody that you saw in front of you. I have a couple of times before written to the manager. I'll send an email to I just want to point out this particular employee of yours, they really handle this well, because I want them to incorporate that into their training. I want more of that, not less of that, right? And so you're right. I think we just all think nobody listens to these things. Nobody reads these surveys. But because everybody's thinking that, now we're kind of at the point where maybe you're one of the few, and maybe they actually will read it.
So this, there's a little, we'll go through some of the good companies or just some of the successes, because you always think, oh, this doesn't do any good, but it can do good.
Mm-hmm.
141 corporations, large and small, stopped funding Planned Parenthood since I think this is 2015. So that's $11.5 million. It's not a lot of money. I mean, this $11 million is a lot of money, but
to
to
them,
Planned Parenthood. But I mean, 141 corporations making up. It's a lot of. Sally's mom works at Planned Parenthood and she's the COO. Can we give them $50,000? That's a lot of these donations.
It's also a lot of conversations being had to get to the point of where we're not giving them money.
Absolutely.
Things that would have been previously rubber stamped. Now you're talking about it.
This is awesome. Thank you, David DeLayden, and the 2015 scandals. This is AT&T, so a big one. I love this. Our company matches employee contributions to various 501c3 organizations. Under this program, some of our employees selected Planned Parenthood for these contributions. That matching option is no longer available.
Which is just one example of you can choose whether or not you give to a particular corporation.
You know what hurts corporate giving? Selling baby body parts. I think that's a problem for some of these places. Okay. All right. Here's some of the companies. These are, I don't know if we're saying Christian or pro-life companies, but friendly.
They're either or, yeah.
Once we say that
exactly.
on the podcast,
No, they're
Chick-fil-A
not.
will start funding a gay parade.
No, right.
You see my
they
optimistic
support
view
those
on
values.
the
No,
state
no,
of
no.
the world.
Everybody can
You're
find
right.
something though too.
Everybody
right?
can find
Yes.
something.
They catered we saw Planned Parenthood bringing Chick-fil-A in for their Christmas party.
And
Yeah.
I'm part of the problem because on the Christmas podcast, I was like, hey, I drove by Chick-fil-A and on the sign it said Happy Holidays and not Merry Christmas. So maybe I am the crazy one.
We have
Like,
met the enemy and it is us.
now I'm yelling at Chick-fil-A.
Speaking
Oh
of
my-
good customer service though, that's like a pre-COVID era, like people actually act like human beings.
It's
Yes,
awesome.
Exactly.
Okay, so Every Life diapers?
Yes. Have you not heard of them?
No.
They're big. They're big, Sean. They're big.
Are
in the
they
pro-life
in
movement.
Walmart? Are they in HEB?
Not yet.
Can you buy? Are you a medical doctor? Not in the traditional sense of the word. Yeah.
These are as of the recording of this podcast, this diaper company, it's pretty new. It's less than 3 years old, and they've already been able to get like a large percent of the pro-life movement to
That's good.
start buying their products.
Let me.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
every parent that I know with little babies
Mhm.
and toddlers that has bought these diapers has said, comparatively to the other brand name diapers, these are better.
Okay, because my question was, look, I want
How
to
bad are
support,
they?
I
Yeah.
want to support pro-life businesses.
No, they're
When my 3-year-old takes a crap in mass, that sucker better hold up.
yes.
And that's what every parent's thinking. You know, support. I don't know. I don't know.
Old.
Old. I've been in some weird situations with some cheap diapers, and it was like, okay, get the wipes out.
So,
And
test it out. I would say go and
Well, now my kids are
now
too
they're
old,
too old.
yeah.
They're too old. But tell people that you know to test it out and see for themselves. That's what I said too. And they've gotten some other baby products too. But the reason that the husband and wife that started this company started it was because they started doing a deep dive into the diaper companies and their funding, and they found that, according to their research, that all the major brand diaper companies were giving to the abortion industry. And they were like, why would we want to do this and buy, and first, why would they want to do this? They're killing their own, customer, or supporting killing their own customer. But so they created this. They're at pretty much every pro-life conference now, that major pro-life conference that you go to, and
You order them online.
You order them online. You get there's other products that they're offering now too. But
Are they the ones that show up and they've got the signs that say like "Make more babies"?
Yes.
That's
their,
cool.
That's their
That's
big,
great.
That's their big logo.
All right, there we go. Shout out Everyday Diapers.
Everyday Diapers.
Finance, we've talked about Ave Maria mutual funds. There's Christian Community Credit Union. I've never heard of Pro-Life FinTech.
No, this is another finance company I recently learned about. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I know the mutual funds are different. I mean, they all switch companies in and out, so you kind of have to do your best and keep an eye on it. But it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Good Robot Productions.
As opposed to Bad Robot.
Good
No,
Robot.
it doesn't exist.
Okay.
Okay.
Good try, though.
The coffee, 7 Weeks Coffee.
So 7 Weeks Coffee, their name is based off of the approximate size of a baby at 7 weeks is a coffee bean. So they name their product 7 Weeks Coffee. They donate 10 to 20% of their sales to pregnancy centers.
There you go.
A lot
Is it
of
good?
It's pretty good. I like it. Yeah.
I've had
it's good
Mystic
coffee.
Monks coffee.
Mystic Monks, yep.
It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's good, but
Yeah.
it's not. Coffee's a.
It's not Starbucks. Don't do
No,
that.
I don't drink
Okay.
Starbucks.
Okay, good.
But what I'm saying is I like the monks. So we
Yeah.
always buy Mystic Monks. My mom buys it for us for Christmas. But I got to be honest to the consumer. It's okay.
Yeah.
I want to be fair here. Now, I'm not saying, because all the coffee companies aren't evil. Starbucks is, but
And there's also various tastes. Like there may be other people who are like, Mystic Monk's coffee is the best coffee I've ever had. It just depends on your.
yeah, so I don't want to upset this. I'm saying as a personal preference and a
Sure.
coffee person, I like their logo in the monks
Yes.
more than.
And the cause. It goes for good causes too.
Do we have any good Trappist-made ales on here anywhere?
I know. Where's Chimay?
I didn't quite get far enough in that research.
They're all
unfortunately.
Duval. That's a whole podcast. We want to get into Belgian Trappist ales that support Catholic schools and around the world. Chimay.
I should make the disclaimer if we haven't already. This is not an exhaustive. This is
No,
just
no,
few
no.
examples. If you have more, by the way.
Yeah, Chimay is the greatest beer in the world that's available around the world. Like somebody's like, no, man, I got a microbrewery in Omaha. Like that's what we're talking about. There's Chimay. It comes in a bottle. It's made by Trappist monks still. It supports their Catholic charities.
Mm-hmm.
I suggest the Blue Reserve. That's the best one. So,
North Arrow Coffee is another specifically like we're a pro-life coffee.
you're amazing at
company,
this.
and
You've really have you heard of North Arrow Coffee, even though you're not a...
No.
I've ordered it several times for a few years now. So
Okay. Clothing, Culture of Life 1972. That's Abby's.
it's not Abby's. It's Carla and her family, her daughters in.
But Abby wears it a lot. And so,
Abby is one of
promotes
their
it.
world global what do you call it? Ambassadors, and there's a lot of they similar to the diaper company. They're super fashionistas, beautiful women in their family, and they found that all these major fashion companies were giving to the abortion industry. So they decided we want to shop and we want to give to pro-life groups. So they created their own clothing line. They've got a lot of great stuff. It's a little bit more expensive than some people want to pay. So just keep that in mind. But it's good quality clothing. They're American made.
Very good.
I think they've gone back and forth between because they are trying to get the prices lower, but they're also trying to get the value. So if you're concerned about that, ask them, look it up. But
I'm concerned about how come nobody invited me to be a fashion brand
you're
ambassador.
next year. You're next year.
Is
Steve.
that just for women?
They do have some men's stuff.
Okay.
They have, but it's mostly
Because I want to
stuff.
recommend Steve as a model,
male-
not
male
like an
ambassador.
underwear model, but like a sports
T-shirt
jacket
and
t-shirt,
they've got
where
hoodies.
he's covered.
Yep.
But you're
Yeah.
still able to admire his physique.
I think it would increase sales by a lot.
I think so too, Steve.
I think
Yeah.
they'd go under. That would be the end of it.
Poor Steve.
We need more Steve.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
All right, makeup, Mary Kay, very great company. Hope Beauty.
Mm-hmm.
Shopping, of course, is Hobby Lobby. That's an easy one. They're wonderful. We have Chick-fil-A.
I didn't find any pro-life grocery stores, believe it or not, specifically donating to.
Those are regional, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're
that's
probably
good
right.
that they're
Local
not
markets,
that they're not giving. Kroger has had its issues with certain things, but I don't think that they give to Planned Parenthood. I don't know that. Don't write in, please. But so HEB, which is the greatest grocery store chain in America, which is a Texas chain,
Yes.
they don't give that I know of
To
Planned Parenthood.
at all.
No, see, it's people like that.
I don't know.
No,
I'm just saying I can't verify one way or another.
There's no.
She caught them listening to Kenny Chesney, and they were off the list.
But HEB, like a lot of companies, like this happened, 15 years ago or something. They gave a little bit of money, like under $2,000, to this Democrat who was running for Congress. And when you look, they're like Trump. Like, I gave to everybody. It's like they're giving to the Democrats, they're giving to Republicans because I'm sure they're trying to buy some land in West Texas for a grocery store, and that's just what corporations do. And we had these pro-lifers that were like trying to boycott HEB because they were giving money to this Democrat, which you're more than entitled to do. But if you just go and you look at all the grocery stores, they're all giving to the politicians. It's just part of that industry. All of them, local, regional, national. And so I don't know where you would get your groceries. Is that on your list of you have to operate?
I think we have somewhat of a responsibility in what are we going to spend our time on. And I do think that we're not advocating boycotts, but there are some cases in which it probably is a good idea. Or we talked about the benefits of writing the letters as a shareholder, as a customer, all those sorts of things. But I do think that there is a point at which you need to consider this grocery store gave $1,500. And how many lives am I going to save by taking the time to go and expose it, wage the public campaign, drive across town? What if I just spent that time and went and signed up for my 40 Days for Life vigil? It's a stewardship of time issue at points.
Yeah.
You walked into my rant because
Like I'm the bad guy in the rant or the good guy in the
you're the good guy.
All right, all right.
You're very good. This is my thing.
First.
This is, we're crazy, and deep down, we're just showing it half the time. The most passionate, how in the world can you have a Bic pen? I don't know if this is a Bic, but it is a Bic.
Looky there.
They gave money to Hitler or whatever. Bic didn't do this. I'm just using it. But the passionate, like the boycott guy who just has everybody on the boycott list, and he has the list because he wants to tell other people how bad they are when they eat a Dorito. So this is my personal experience. I'm not saying this. there are many well-intentioned pro-lifers. I think I'm one of them. That like, no, we're avoiding this. We're doing this. There's a line there. They'll never come out and pray at the vigil, but they got all their lists and all their remarks at the Super Bowl party. But it's like, you want to come out and pray? I don't have time.
Oh, that's a good point.
But, you know, some poor lady on the couch is like, you know, you're wearing Levi's jeans.
Crap.
They give to Planned Parenthood, and you're like, okay, yeah. So, anyways.
Well, we've got phone companies too that are that specifically advertise, especially on a lot of talk shows. A lot of our listeners probably listen to or have heard. Charity Mobile.
My wife has a Charity Mobile plan.
How is it?
No problem. Well, also my wife is half Amish. She hates the phone.
She does hate the
using it.
phone,
but
she doesn't like text.
It's
right?
never let her. She doesn't like texting. She doesn't like the internet. When she had to go in and get a phone one time, the guy was saying, "This is a great phone if you can you got this games to kill time," and talking about killing.
Oh
time.
my gosh, yeah. Whatever.
She's out.
What is that?
Patriot Mobile, Pure Talk, Charity Mobile.
So these are cell phone companies that specifically advertise that they will give a percentage of your monthly bill to conservative or pro-life groups or Christian organizations that support, certain values. So, which I think is cool. I hear them advertise a lot on a lot of platforms.
Yeah, I've heard of all three of those. I've heard of all three of those.
And one of my family members had Patriot Mobile for the longest time, and they said it was a really good company. So I've heard that about Charity. Laura's not the best person to ask about that because she doesn't use she doesn't problems.
We've traveled a little bit together, and it's never been an issue. To me, that's always a concern.
That's
great
good.
if I get this, and now I'm in Cleveland. Am I going to find out that that's not in our range?
Sure.
So.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
ExxonMobil,
Here's your
consistent
company.
support for pro-life politicians, including pro-life investment portfolios for policy alignment. That's really good. Way to go, ExxonMobil. Drill, baby, drill. Take that, environmentalist. ExxonMobil. I think that, we gave the examples to sort of wrap this up of like what you can do, what you can't do or can try to do. And I think that there's a practical approach of doing this. And I encourage people to write and to send emails because Planned Parenthood's stock is at an all-time low as we're in the early stages of 2026. And they're just not worth the headache. They're not worth the corporate headache of having to deal with that. I think that there is a trend, and this is very positive, and that's why I wanted to point out. It's amazing who's not on the top 10 list. I mean, it was like a lot of these companies we've never even heard of, but like, where is Netflix? Where is, all these other companies that we're so used to, Starbucks? I think that the getting out of the culture war for these companies is a response to the Bud Light catastrophe. And just there's been a trend post-2020 of, okay, we don't have to put "we're against racism" on our homepage. Like, we can just sell Cokes, we can sell clothes, we can do whatever, and not have to operate under this culture just whiplash.
Yeah.
And frankly, as Americans, that's what we want. We want corporate America to focus on their products that we can choose or choose not to buy. We don't want them, same with Hollywood, to tell us how to live our lives. So, this was good. I'm really glad we did it. This is listener feedback.
I also, I forgot to point out before we close, I also want to point out there is an app that is created by the same couple that created the Every Life diapers. So they're the same people who created the Public Square app. Some people may be familiar with, and that is something because like a lot of you are probably like us, or at least like me, where you're like, how in the world can I possibly know? Can't somebody do the homework for me and I could just like know and da-da-da. That's what their idea was behind Public Square. So there are companies that will sign up to be on this app. All you do is put in your zip code and a map shows up around you where companies are that, and a lot of times they're local, small businesses. that will basically say that if they're on the Public Square app, then they align with your values. So the Public Square app people say that they have a vetting process and all that sort of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff near me. I've found tattoo parlors. Not that I went to go get a tattoo. I just noticed it near me. There's like how many tattoos? There was like
It's like when we count the babies saved that we know of.
that we know of. There you go. Right.
How many tattoos?
Oh my god. But I mean, there's like pet. What do you call this? Veterinarian clinics. Certain restaurants will be on there, so it's not going to be like all of a sudden you're going to know where all the and not every company knows about this app. But as it gets more and more known, more and more companies are signing up for it, which I think is really cool because it was nice to be able to say, oh, I went to this taco shop and they actually share my values. And it turns out some of the ones that I've gone to, they go to my church. Like the owners go to my church. And I'm like, okay, this is cool.
It's so much easier on the local level because you know people and you want to support them.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with all companies and corporations saying we're out. We're not left. We're not right.
Yeah.
We're just out because I think it's caused so much. It's the highlight of the stupidity was the NFL. This is actually where we come together.
Right,
and we
and
can
not
be
think about
different,
this.
and
Yeah.
we can cheer. As superficial as that is, like this is the one sort of safe space in our culture where we don't know what all these people believe, but it's 4th and 1, and we're going for it. And the NFL ruined that for a time period, and then they wised up. But yeah, I think that the companies, it's much more. It's not as bad as it was. 2020 was probably the height of just, oh my gosh, these companies are idiots. And so I think that some of this has helped. And there's been a few dramatic examples with Bud Light and Disney probably being at the top of the list. Disney literally brought back their old CEO. I mean, it got so bad. So we hope this is helpful for you, and be sure to tune in to our webcast, which is coming up. If you're not on our email list, get on it. We will be sending out details about that, our 2026 kickoff webcast. So be sure to tune in for that. And also, we will be traveling a lot in the coming weeks to the many marches around the country, the March for Life in D.C., the West Coast Walk for Life in San Francisco, a lot of state marches. So our team will be very, very busy. So please pray for us as we hit the road in a very busy January and February as we lead in to the kickoff of 40 Days for Life on Ash Wednesday, February the 18th. It's right around the corner. So go to 40daysforlife.com and find your location. Please rate, review, and share this podcast, and we will see you next time. God bless you.